Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be another coloring video with me doing some chatting. And so we're going to be kicking off the color along with Anne from A Colorful Life. So for her color along in the month of August, you can do anything from Dover or Creative Haven books. So what we're going to do is we're going to do one out of this book here called Celtic Knotwork, which is a stained glass book. And so we are going to be doing, I will show you the picture that we're going to be doing. We're going to be doing this picture right here. And I've already got my piece of white paper behind our stained glass book. And so that's one thing that you want to remember when you're coloring in these stained glass books, because as you're going to be able to see, let me just show you, it's on this real thin vellum paper, and if you just kind of put it down like that, you're going to get the imprint of the next design, the design from the next page onto here. So always put a piece of white paper underneath what you are coloring when you're doing one of these stained glass pages, because otherwise it's going to get really distracting for you. Alright, so we're going to be doing this picture, and we're going to be using our lovely polychromos. Now, I told you guys that I was in a mood and I had a hankering to color in one of my stained glass books and to actually do that with you guys on camera for one of these things, and so that's what we're going to go ahead and do today. So I'm going to go ahead and do my little disclaimer. I am coloring with a visual impairment, so that means I have to get close to my work so I can see what I am doing. So for a lot of the video, you're probably going to be seeing my head. I do try to keep that out of the way as much as I can. But it's still going to be in there, so bear with me for that, and thank you for your understanding for that. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and lower the camera, and we're going to get started on our picture. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in just a little bit so we can see. I try to get a little bit close up when I'm doing this. Or try to get the camera zoomed in kind of close up while we are doing this, and sometimes this does not want to cooperate. Alright, so this should be pretty good. So I'll just make sure that I'm in frame when I do this, but we're going to go ahead and start off with some green, and I'm going to just kind of pick a really light green color, and then we'll do some shading with a darker green. Okay, so as I said, we're using polychromos. Now, this is out of the Celtic Knotwork book, and I have actually done a few pictures in this book, and I have taken them out of the book, and I have put them into my, I put them into my my binder. So what we're going to do is we're just going to kind of lay down a light color of this green throughout this whole thing here. And the pencils lay down very, very well on this stained glass stuff. This is real thin vellum paper here, and so to me, now let me talk to you about this paper, okay? So this paper is, as I said, real thin vellum. Let me just, can you guys hear that a little bit? So it's this real thin vellum stuff, okay? And so, you know what, I think I'm going to make it just a little bit darker, because I can barely see that. So what makes this kind of give it that stained glass thing is the transparency of the paper that the design is on. So this is why you need to put your piece of white paper underneath here so that you can see what you're doing. But let me just talk to you about this paper. So this paper, because it is so thin, it's a very, very thin paper, and I'm going to sharpen some pencils here. I totally need to get that X-Acto sharpener that a lot of people have been getting, just because I have heard just nothing but great things about it. So I am going to be getting that at some point in the near future, I think. Okay. But right now I'm just using a handheld sharpener for the time being, which does okay. Okay, so this paper, like I said, is quite thin, and because of that, you would not be very well off putting any kind of wet medium on it, because any kind of wet medium on this, and I've actually done testing on, you know, I think I'm going to get a darker green because this is just a little bit too light for this, I think, in my opinion. So sometimes you just play. So we're gonna go ahead and use this darker one. Sometimes I just kind of like to be able to see what I'm putting down here. So anyway, we'll just kind of color over what we did. So you would not want to put any kind of wet medium on this because any kind of water, like even the slightest amount of water, is going to make your page buckle and crinkle. Now, if you don't mind that, then by all means go for it. But I have done some testing on these things. I have some little pocket-sized stained glass books. They're not, I don't think they're from Dover, but they're basically the same kind of paper. You know, the same kind of thing. And I've actually tested a lot of my different mediums on those. And any kind of water that you're going to put on there is going to make this paper buckle and crinkle because it is so thin. Now, to me, this paper also does not bode well with markers. I have tried Touch 5 markers on it, and to me, it streaks too much. Now, I could be doing it wrong, and it could be just colorist folly, as I tend to say sometimes, colorist folly. Because, and you know, that is highly possible because a lot of times I don't really know what I'm doing. I will cheerfully admit that. But to me, I don't think that markers would do very well on it. I've tried water-based markers, it will streak, and same thing with alcohol markers. To me, the color just kind of pools up on top of the paper, and then, you know, that's where you get your streaks, because it just kind of sits there until it dries. And yeah. So to me, it's just not the best for water mediums, but pencil does very, very beautifully on it. It really does, in my opinion. And I've used luminance pencils on it. I've used Prismas. I have also used polychromos. I am using polychromos now, as I said in the beginning of the video. So yeah. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put down this lighter green color first. And so what I'm doing with this knotwork stuff is I'm kind of following the tracks here, so to speak. It's kind of easy to mess up something like this because with all the intertwining, all the intertwining things, you could easily mess it up. So, you know, just kind of follow the tracks, I guess, is the best way I know how. Because I've messed up a few of them a time or two. But this is a book that I would actually buy again. I've colored a few of them out of here, as I said. And I would actually buy this book again because I do like it. I do enjoy it. I think it's a fun book. And I like that it has some bigger spaces to color in, especially, you know, I look to, now there's, of course, I color a lot off camera, but I also look for books that I feel would be good for doing on camera with you guys. And when I do them on camera with you guys, I like to find ones with bigger spaces because that's easier for me to do with you guys on camera. Because when it's tiny, the smaller it is, like the more detailed it is, the tinier it is, the closer I have to get. And the closer I get, the more you're going to see my head instead of what I'm doing. And I try to do my best to curb all that. I know it's not perfect. And for those of you that keep supporting me, I really, really appreciate it. I really do appreciate that. No lie about that. Okay, so this next one goes here. So I just kind of follow the knots, I guess. So what I like to do with these is I like to do these in like 2 different colors. Like I'll use like varying shades and stuff for, you know, for the blending and shading and stuff, but I tend to just like do these knotworks in like, you know, just 2 different colors. So we'll do green, and then maybe we'll do some blue or something. So I'm just putting down just kind of this light layer of green here, and then I'll go back and I'll put in a darker green to do some blending and shading and stuff when I'm done here. So we're going to be seeing quite a lot of one pencil being put down on something like this. Now you can get as crazy with color as you want to. There's no right or wrong way to color this in. Same thing goes with any coloring. There's no rules. Okay. So, and I'm just making sure that I get all the white stuff colored in. I probably missed some a little bit here and there, but anyway. So what was I saying? Yeah. And then I'm gonna come over here and do the same thing on this side, because I kind of like to keep these pretty symmetrical. So anyway, let's chat a little bit, and I decided that I'm going to tell you guys some silly stories about me. As I said at the beginning of the video, and a lot of you guys know, I do have a visual impairment, and let me tell you, it has landed me into some very interesting situations. Probably the funniest and most embarrassing one. I mean, it was really embarrassing at the time, but now I can sit there and laugh about it. I mean, it is funny. And everybody I tell it to just cracks up. But what what happened was, when I was a senior in high school, and this is when dinosaurs walked the earth, you know, this was quite a long time ago. But when I was a senior in high school, I went to this women's retreat, and it was in Iowa. And the church I was going to at the time, there was about 8 of us that went, and when you get like 8 women together, I mean, it gets really nuts, you know, because it was such a goofy time. It was a lot of fun, but boy, it was such a goofy time. And you know, I was scheduled to sing for this retreat, so that is what I did. But there's about 8 of us that went to this retreat. Okay, so we had a very, very, very fun time. It was a crazy time, a lot of laughs, a lot of just silliness going on, but a lot of inspiration. It was a Christian retreat, a lot of inspiration. And so anyway, on the way home, we stopped at, they had this festival in Galena, Illinois. Galena is a town here in Illinois. And so they had this festival going at the time, and so we all just kind of split up. And the gal that I hung out with, you know, we were pretty good buds. You know, she played the piano, and you know, she would accompany me a lot when I sang. She played the piano, and so anyway, we hung out together. We were both big, you know, chocolate fiends, and but we all split up at the time. You know, we all kind of split up and did our own thing. But we decided to meet back at this one building, which was a store that had leather goods in it. Okay, and it was one of those places where it was a little wooden building. Okay, and I'm sharpening pencils. It was a little wooden building, and the only like really good source of light coming in through there was through the open door, and then it had like little windows kind of toward the, you know, on the upper wall and toward the ceiling, you know, so it wasn't really, oh my gosh, and I broke my, holy crap, I broke the lid on my pencil. Alright guys, I gotta go dump some shavings and I'll be right back. Alright, but anyway, yeah, that really irritates me when I break my lid. So anyway, the only source of light really that was coming in through there was through these little tiny windows and through the open door, because it was still kind of a nice day, so they had everything open. So anyway, you know, we meet back at this little place, and so we're looking around. You know, we're all kind of you know, we all met up, and we're all just kind of looking around at stuff, because a couple people wanted to buy like some belts, and little key fobs and stuff. Well, anyway, so I was looking at the belts, right? And when you're visually impaired or totally blind, you tend to use your other senses. And me, like, hey, it's leather, you know, I wanted to feel it, you know, wanted to smell it. And so sitting directly to the left of the belts, you know, that I was looking at was this leather jacket. And so I'm like, whoa, you know, cool. So I'm starting to feel on the arm of this leather jacket, right? And I'm going, the woman I was hanging out with, her name was Kathy. I said, hey, Kathy, you want to come and look at this leather jacket? It's such a cool jacket. And so she looks over my way, and she says, she kind of pauses for a minute. She says, Sharon, there is a man in that coat. So I'm feeling on this leather jacket, and somebody was actually wearing it. It wasn't just sitting there. So of course, like, everybody is just cracking up at my little oopsie there. And so when we went to church the next day, because we got back home on a Saturday, so when we went to church the next day, you know, we all had to report on the retreat. Well, of course, the story got told, and the whole congregation was just cracking up at me. And so for the longest time, I was totally, they teased me about that for so long. And that was like one of the times that I, like, very rarely in my life am I ever speechless, but at that time I was speechless because I was so freaking embarrassed. I mean, I was like, oh. So I was really embarrassed, but now, I mean, it is hilarious. I mean, if it happened to somebody else, I mean, I would have been laughing my ass off too, but I mean, I can sit there and laugh about it now because it is funny. It really is. It's hilarious. So I'm holding up my little prompt card. You guys can laugh. That's fine. But yeah, I tend to tell that story like when I'm talking about, like, interesting situations that a visually impaired person can kind of find themselves in. And I've got a few others. I don't think they're quite as good as that one, but I do have a few others. There was a time when I was hanging out with some friends of mine, and we were at the mall, and we went into this clothing shop for something. You know, we're just looking around, or, you know, chewing the fat, and so I saw this person standing there, right? And you know me, I'm very sociable, so I said hi, and I'm kind of chit-chatting to him a little bit. You know, this is when I was a teenager, I guess. Like, I was probably maybe 15 or 16, and so it turned out, I figured this out, you know, not too long, but I figured it out that it was a mannequin. So of course a mannequin isn't going to talk back to you. And so my friend's dad, he kind of instigated the whole thing, but he kind of teased me about it, and I'm like, oh, dang it, Bill, you got me. So there was a time that I was talking to a mannequin, thinking it was a real person. Then there was the time that, then there was the time that, now I was not there to get it firsthand, but my husband, my fiance at the time, you know, now he's my husband, but, you know, he was my fiance at the time, and he told me about it later. But when we were dating, and shortly after we were married, like for the last year of my college, for about the last 2 years of my college, because we got married in October when I was a junior. Let's see, was it 93? No, I was actually a sophomore, I think, when I got married, because we got married in October of 93. And so for the last 2 and a half years of my college, Well, what happened was because where I went to college was quite a ways away from where I live now, and from where he was from. And so I lived on campus at college, even though we were married. During the week, I would stay on campus at my college, and then he'd come to pick me up on the weekends. And we'd come back here to the house, and I would spend the weekend with him. And then he would take me back Monday morning before my first class. Of course, he had to drive me because I can't drive, being visually impaired. So he would drive me back to class Monday morning, before my first class started. But anyway, one weekend when I was home, we had gone to the hardware store because he needed to pick up some stuff. And so apparently there was this guy there that he knew. And so anyway, when I'd gone back to college, he went back to the hardware store, and the guy was there. And so the guy, I think his name was Jimmy or something, but Jimmy says, well, who was that cute woman you were with? And so John, is like, well, that's my fiance. And so Jimmy said, Jimmy was teasing him. He says, well, what does she see in you? She must be blind or something. And John's like, well, she kind of is. And he explained the situation. And of course, like, it was one of those like open mouth insert foot things, he was like really, really embarrassed. And, but he was saying, oh, don't worry about it, she'll laugh. And of course, he told me about it, the next weekend when he came to pick me up, he told me about it. And he was right. Like, I was dying. Like, I was killing myself laughing. I mean, I was almost on the floor, literally almost on the floor from laughing so damn hard. Like, well, he sure called it a good one, that one, that time. But yeah, so that was funny. And then there was the time that Charlie, my first leader dog, I've had 3 leader dogs. Caleb is number 3. And before Caleb, I had Abby, who was another golden retriever. And then before Abby, and I'm not even in frame, I'm sorry, guys. Why weren't you guys yelling at me? Why weren't you guys like knocking on your computer screens going, you're out of frame? So anyway, before I got Caleb, I had a golden retriever named Abby. And Abby worked from 1999 until 2009, right before I got Caleb. And then she passed away in 2010 from lung cancer, of all things, believe it or not. So anyway, before Abby, I had another dog named Charlie, and Charlie was an Australian blue heeler. So he was mostly black and white with some gray markings. I really don't know how to describe him because, he had such interesting markings, but it just pretty much looked like somebody just took a paintbrush and just painted him. Painted like all the markings on him. Well, anyway, Charlie, he was, like, if a dog could be, like, I mean, obviously a dog can be professional because, there are working dogs. But, like, oh my gosh, like, when he had that harness on, like, he knew it was serious business. He was one of those where it was, like, totally like night and day. Like, when the harness came off, he knew it. And then when it went on, I mean, totally different dog. I mean, you could just kind of maybe call him Sybil. Because, I mean, he just totally had a different personality. Well, anyway, Charlie, we were at a mall one time, and oh my gosh, and dogs are going to be dogs, right? Even though that they're highly trained, they're working dogs, and dogs are going to be dogs. Sometimes they're going to get sick. Well, you probably know where this is going. But we were at the mall one time, and Charlie, he just all of a sudden just started panting. Like, he seemed perfectly fine. Well, he started panting like real loud, like just kind of like they do when they're really uncomfortable, right? So we're going, oh my gosh, Charlie has to go and Charlie has to go and do a number 2. because, you know, when they get to panting like that, you know, that's one of the reasons why they will pant. But anyway, so we're heading to the door, and you know, because we knew what was going on, you know, he had to go. Well, we didn't quite make it to the door before he let loose, and thank God it was on it wasn't on carpet, but it was on like that mall floor stuff, you know, the typical mall floor. So we're going, so I'm going, oh God. And Charlie, you know, now Charlie, his tail, like he had different wags for different expressions, all right? He would, like, you could tell just by a certain way he wagged his tail, like kind of how he was feeling. I swear to God, it's true. So when he let loose like that, you know, of course he knew better, but, you know, he couldn't help it because he wasn't feeling good. And we didn't get him to the door in time. But he kind of looked down at the mess, and he kind of started doing his oh crap wag, you know, like I'm really disgusted with myself, and boy, I'm in trouble now. And it's like a real fast wag, you know, kind of like this. It was real fast. And so we're like, oh Charlie, it's okay, you know, you couldn't help it, you know, because like you can't get on him if he couldn't help it, you know, because, you know, he normally wouldn't do anything like that. You know, he wasn't feeling good. His stomach was upset. And so we had to, I had to kind of stand right there, and then John, and we should have came prepared. We really should have. Now we do, because we know, you know, we learned a hard lesson. But John had to go back to one of the stores to get some paper towels and stuff so we could clean up the mess. Yeah. So poor Charlie. So that was our little, that was sort of like a little oh crap moment, literally oh crap. And then there was another time. I could probably go on about these all day, and I swear, like I should write a book. I really should. But there was another time. Now I used to do substitute teaching at some of the schools around here. And now this was back in the 90s, because I had Charlie from 92 until 1999, when he died very suddenly of a blood disorder called hemolytic anemia. And I'll tell you that story too. But so anyway, I did some substitute teaching around some of the schools around here. And Charlie, you know, Charlie just kind of minded his own business, like when he didn't really want to have anything to do with the kids or anything, which was good. You know, he wasn't really a kid type of dog, but, you know, he just kind of, what I did was I put him back behind the desk, like where the desk chair was, you know, where the teacher's chair was. And he, you know, that's where he would stay. And, you know, he never came out to want to socialize with anybody, you know, he just kind of kept his little watchful eye. Well, during the afternoon, it was like after lunch and after their recess, I think I was teaching a second grade class that day, and but he got sick to his stomach, and all of a sudden he shot up, like he was laying down. All of a sudden he stood up and just blah, you know, just barfed right there all over the floor, just blah, you know. I mean, it was like he exploded. And I mean, you know, I had no idea that, you know, he was sick. Well, a lot of times, like when dogs do that, it kind of hits them like real suddenly, right? You know, like so, because they can't tell you when something is wrong, or if they start feeling really bad when they do. So anyway, he made a mess right all over the floor, and I'm like, all right, well, you know, my dog, I need to deal with it. And so the kids were like, call the custodian, he'll come and clean it up. Well, I got most of it up. I got some paper towels, and I got on my hands and knees, and I cleaned up most of the mess, you know, because my dog, you know, and why should somebody else have to deal with, you know, with his mess, right? So, but the floor was still kind of sticky, so I did have to call the custodian, and so he came in with the mop and stuff. But, you know, what happened was, there's like there's an intercom in each of the classrooms, so you can call the office, and you can, you know, ask, you can buzz the office and ask them to send the custodian down there. So when I was on the horn doing that, I'm telling you, that was like the quietest those kids got that whole day. Because let me tell you what, and you probably remember this back when you were kids too, like most kids are going to give the substitute teachers hell. Like they are going to give them hell. And I was no exception. Like they gave me hell that day. I mean, I've had some classes that were really, really good, like really, really super good. And then I've had some that were just little hellions, let me tell you. But anyway, so this one was sort of on the hellion side, this class was. So when I got on the horn to call the custodian, that was the quietest they got that day. And of course, you know, being second graders and I don't know, it seems like kids that age are just real enamored of like bodily functions, I guess. And you know, so they're going ew, and so that's all they talked about was how Charlie puked, and one of them even said, ew, it looks like he ate a grasshopper. And I'm like, oh, you guys. I mean, so yeah, it was pretty icky. It was really icky. But oh, the joys, let me tell you. Oh my gosh. So those are some of my funny stories. And there's a lot more where that came from. Maybe not visually impaired ones or embarrassing blind lady ones, but I do have some other funny stories to tell you at some point. So, in fact, there was another one, and this is like going to be real. This, I swear to God, I should name this like coloring and gross out, let me tell you, because like I'm talking about all these like the stuff that my dogs have done. And well, anyway, there's another one. It's not really a visually impaired one, but this is sort of a gross dog moment. And those of you that have animals, you guys know some of the gross stuff that they can do. Well, we used to have this years ago. We used to have this husky. We don't have him anymore. But we used to have this husky, and a lot of the times, like he would get like an upset stomach, right? But it would manifest like at the back end. He would have very, very loose stools. So there's our light green. He would have very, very loose stools. And one time, I was on the phone with a friend of mine. I was on the phone with my friend Josh. And Frosty, this husky we used to have, his name was Frosty. And he let loose one time on the kitchen floor. Thank God it was on the kitchen floor where we don't have carpet, because when he would go at it, man, it was a mess. Well, anyway, Frosty, he let loose one time, and I'm on the phone with Josh, and of course I'm the one that had to clean it up, you know, because I mean, just what a freaking mess. We're gonna put down our darker green into some little areas here, and then we're gonna blend it and shade it with our lighter one, blend it together. So I went into the kitchen to deal with his little problem. And now I am a person who gets very grossed out. I get very, very grossed out. And when I get really super grossed out, I mean, it's gonna come up, okay? So I was on the phone with Josh, and I'm cleaning up the mess. Well, the paper towel that I was using, leaked, and so some of it got on my fingers. And oh my gosh, it stunk. Oh lordy, did it stink. And so it got on my fingers, and I was just super grossed out. And I'm like, oh, just a minute, Josh. And I didn't have time to put the phone on mute. I barely had time to get it put down on the table before I had to run to the bathroom. So I ran to the bathroom, and of course he hears me go, bleh, you know, I mean, because like I said, I get very grossed out and it's going to come up. So I get back to the phone, and he is laughing his ass off at me. I mean, he is just dying over there. I'm like, well, I guess you got your laugh for the day, didn't you, Josh? And he says, yep. So he teases me quite a bit, you know, when I was like, just a minute, Josh, what? But you know what? Like he would do the same thing, because he's got the same problem I do. Like if something like that touches his fingers, you know, like if it leaks and touches his fingers, he will do the same thing. Like he will lose his lunch too. So, but I guess hearing it happen to somebody else is kind of funny, and which I will admit that, because like, and I told him this too. I said, you know what? I said, if this happened to you, I said, I'd be laughing at you. You realize that? He says, oh, I know. So, so he teased me a lot about that. He teased me a lot about that. So, that was really gross. All right, no more gross stories, right? No more gross stories. We're coloring such a beautiful stained glass piece. We're coloring such a beautiful stained glass piece, you know, no more gross outs, right? Oh my gosh. All right. Okay, so how do I want to do this one? I think what I'm going to do, how do I want to do this one? To make it look a little bit more symmetrical, I think I'll put some dark green over here. It doesn't have to be totally even. Like when you're doing your blending and shading, like you don't have to have it totally be completely symmetrical, because you know it looks more natural that way if you got some shading in different areas too. So those are some of my little funny stories, even if a couple of them are sort of gross. Now this one here happened at the pen show last year. We go to the Chicago Pen Show every year. And the pen show is basically a place where people go to look at fountain pens. And a lot of times, you know, they'll have vintage fountain pens. They'll also have modern ones. But anyway, so these vendors, you know, come to bring their fountain pens, and, you know, there's a lot of buying and selling going on, you know. So anyway, this one guy that always goes there, you know, he's very nice. We always make sure that we go and talk to him every year, and we actually buy quite a lot of stuff off of him because he's got some very, very nice things. So anyway, he was eating his lunch, and Caleb, you know, sometimes Caleb will embarrass me. Not very often, but every once in a while Caleb will embarrass me. And so he had his lunch sack lunch kind of sitting on that chair, and Caleb, you know, I'm talking to Hirsch. His name is Hirsch, and he always makes his rounds to the different pen shows every year. And so, and I am out of frame, guys. I'm sorry about that. So I'm talking to Hirsch, and all of a sudden Caleb sticks his nose in in his lunch bag and steals his cookie. And I'm like, Caleb! So I got after Caleb for that, and so Hirsch kind of always teases me a little bit about Caleb eating his cookie. Like, you bad boy. Yeah, I got after Caleb for that pretty good, because, you know, he knows better than that. He knows a lot better than that. You're not supposed to be doing that. Plus, I don't like him to have anything like that, because it's just not good for dogs. So I don't like him. Number one, it's you know, they're not supposed to do that. Number two, I just don't like him having anything like that, because it's just not good for him. The only human thing that we ever give them is like steak fat, you know, the fat off of the steaks, like when we have steaks. And that's really about the only thing that we will give the dogs, because we're not in the habit of giving them the, you know, human food or table scraps or anything like that. We don't do that stuff with our guys. It's not good for them. It's not good for them, and they will gain weight on it, and it's just not good for them. You know, they have their own stuff. You know, they get their special treats, but we don't do the whole table scrap stuff for them. Okay, going in with the darker green now. Do some more shading on it. my camera shut off on me. It kind of shuts off on me after like, I don't know, about 25 or 29 minutes, something like that. So I have to catch it. And it makes a noise when it shuts off, but sometimes it's so soft that I don't always hear it, but this time I caught it. So I don't think that we should be losing any footage, which is good. Which is good, 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 good. Okay. So I'm just putting some of the darker green just kind of in different places here, and I'm gonna blend the two together because I think it'll look prettier that way instead of just like one flat color. I really like doing these types of designs. I think it's very relaxing. I love mandalas, as you guys know, but I really like doing these kinds of designs. I mean, I like doing other stuff too, but I like doing these kinds of things because to me it's very relaxing. Now, a lot of people don't necessarily like the repeating patterns, but I guess as a crocheter and stuff, I really don't mind it because like when you're crocheting, you are you're just, you know, you're doing a lot of repeated hand hand motions because of the stitches and stuff that you're making. So to me, in a way, it's almost kind of like, you know, what I do when I'm crocheting, and I find crocheting and stuff very, very relaxing. So I don't mind the repeated patterns. I really don't. You guys really seem to be enjoying the color alongs, which is great. I think Anne kicked hers off today, and so we're working on something for hers right now in this video. And then I kicked mine off as well. If you have not seen part 1 of the kickoff of the snarky and scary color along that I am doing, that went up yesterday. Go to my channel and look for that. You can see me color in part of the picture for that, right? So make sure you do that. Check that out. Part 2 of that will go up tomorrow. Now what I think I'm going to do for my color along, because I told you yesterday, like when I was coloring in that picture, I told you that I was probably going to sit down and do it in like 2 or 3 different parts, but I don't know that I will because I may just finish it off camera. What I think I'm going to do is I'm going to probably finish it off camera because I did the 2 parts of it already, so I'll probably just finish it off camera. And then what I'm going to do is I'll come back in another video and then show you the finished product, because I am going to stickle it. I'm going to finish it and then I'm going to stickle it. So you'll see it in another video, but I don't think I'm going to finish it up on camera with you guys, because it seems like when I do maybe especially a 3-parter with the same picture, people get bored with it, and like people don't come and watch after the first part, even the second part. Like people don't come and watch it. So it's probably best that I just finish it up off camera and then come back in another video and show you how it looks. And also what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to be doing like a weekly showcase of I'll do video like with my pictures, and then also because I want to show you guys what everybody else is doing too. And so go ahead and post everything on my Facebook group. Join my Facebook group. And then, I mean, you can do it on Instagram too, but on the Facebook group, it's just going to be easier for me to just gather everything. And because I want to make a video showing all of the pictures that you guys submit for the color along. That way I can showcase everybody's work in a video. I think that would be really nice. I was going to do that last time for my color along when I did the one in April, and I didn't get it together. So this time I'm going to be a little bit more diligent, and I'm going to get it together, and then I'm going to show everybody's work. Now I may do it on a weekly basis, or I may do it after the theme for the color along is over with. You guys tell me what you want in the comment section. Do you want to see it on a weekly basis, or do you just want to see everything after the theme is over with, you know, after the 2 weeks is over with, and after the, you know, after the theme is done. Tell me what your preference is. Do you want to, which way do you want to see it? And I'll do it either way, you know, so you guys tell me what you would like to see instead. Okay. So, those were some of my really funny stories. But today is Tuesday. Now, I guess what's going on, and I heard this on Anne's channel, is that Dover Publications, I guess, is going to have a live event tomorrow from like, was it 3 to 8 Eastern time, I think, on their Facebook page. I'll have to find the link. So you can, but I guess they're going to have some Q&A with some of the artists on there. Marty Noble's going to be there, and of course, if you're familiar with Creative Haven in Dover, you know who Marty Noble is, definitely. And then I guess they're going to have some giveaways. They're gonna have all kinds of stuff. So that's going to be a lot of fun. I plan to attend at least part of it. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do the whole thing, but I really love Dover and Creative Haven books, so it's something that I think I want to see. And I think tomorrow is like National Coloring Book Day or something like that, or National Coloring Day, something like that. So yeah, that's interesting. That's really interesting. I didn't know that they had a day devoted to that. Although it shouldn't surprise me, because it seems like there's a day devoted to many, many things. So that shouldn't surprise me one little iota, that they would have something devoted for coloring books, which I think is pretty cool. Okay. So we are getting there with this, you guys. We really are. I think I forgot, let's see, I want to make sure that I didn't forget any of the sections. I don't think I did. I think I'll go over this with some of this lighter green. So I can't wait to see what everybody does for the, for the color-alongs. Really can't wait. Some of you have submitted some things already, which is totally awesome. Absolutely, totally awesome. Make sure that I'm in frame, because sometimes I get out of frame and I want to make sure that you guys can see. You guys need to start knocking on your computer screens and going, hey, you're out of frame. We can't see. Move your big head. I'm trying, guys. I'm trying. I promise I'm trying. I try. Oh, but I want to thank all of you, and I've seen this on several of my videos, but I want to thank all of you who have generously graced me with absolutely heartwarming, beautiful, beautiful comments, and have told me that that it's encouraging to see someone with a visual impairment doing this, and that that I'm not afraid to do it, and that I actually do this on camera. There's been some of you that have called me an inspiration, which I am very, very flattered about. I'm very honored, very touched about that. So thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Really, really do appreciate that. I am definitely not anywhere near the super, super talented people who do this. But I do enjoy it, and I do try. I give it my old college try, and sometimes it comes off good, sometimes it doesn't. But it is something I enjoy, and I believe that the more you do it, the better at it that you are going to get. And I know in my case it is true. Looking back at some of my earlier pictures that I have done, it is true that the more you do it, the better off, or the better you are going to get at it. So it's like anything else, you know, if you practice at it, you're going to get better. Now, unless you're really, really talented at it to begin with, you know, you're not going to be a Leonardo da Vinci or a Vincent van Gogh or whatever. But I do believe that if you do practice, you will get better. And what I would always tell my vocal students when they would come over for lessons is, you know, a lot of them have asked me, well, if I take lessons, you know, am I going to get good enough to perform in front of anybody, or do I have to perform in front of anybody? And I tell them, I said, just because you take lessons does not mean that you're obligated to perform for an audience. I said some people can't. They get very, very nervous. You know, they get stage fright. And I said, you know, it's like anything else. Some people have a knack for it. Although everybody has the potential to improve. But no, not everybody is going to be a concert singer. And not everybody is going to be a famous artist either. But like I told the vocal students, not everybody can be a concert singer. But you will feel good about yourself if you practice. And the more you do it, the better you are going to be. You are going to improve. And I highly believe that. So if you don't think that you're good at the shading or the blending, all I can just tell you to do is to keep practicing. And I'm going to flip my book just a little bit, is to keep practicing, to keep doing it. You know, keep doing it. And you will, over time, see improvements. That doesn't mean that you're going to be a top-notch artist or anything. But if you practice, you are going to see improvements in your work. And you know, if you don't think you can do the blending and shading, you know, just find something to practice on and just keep practicing at it, and you'll get it. You know what? I figure, hey, if I can do it, anybody can do it. If I can do it, anybody can do it. Trust me. And you know, I'm not that good at it, but I still try. Like I really know nothing about light sources or anything, but I still, you know, I still try to blend it out, and I still try to do the shading and stuff to the best of my ability. So just keep working at it and just keep practicing, and you'll improve things. You really will. So I think pretty soon I'm going to bring this video to a close. And then I will probably just finish this off camera. I thought about maybe doing a part 2 with it, but I think I may just finish it off camera and then come back and show it to you guys in another video. And I think for each video I'm going to choose a different picture to color. And with all the color alongs, I'm probably going to be doing a lot more of these coloring on camera videos for the time being. I don't know how many. I can't promise you one every day, because I do have other stuff that I need to do too. And these videos kind of tend to take me quite a while to do, because I do have to edit them. I put my videos through quite a lot of editing. And so I can't really promise you that I will do one of these videos every day. You know what? I think I screwed this up. You know, I can't promise you that I'm going to do one of these videos every day, but I'll try to do one at least every few days or every couple of days for you guys. Yeah, I think I put this green in the wrong place. Let's see. I think I did. Let me see. Alright, I have to erase some green. So you can use your Derwent eraser on this. Now it may not get it all up, because once you put down these pencils you're not going to get it all up, but hopefully I can get enough of it up that it's not going to do too much with the next color that needs to be put here. And Sheena is going nutso. But see, that's what I mean with this Celtic knotwork. You have to kind of pay attention and follow the tracks. Otherwise, you can get it into another section you may not want. So yeah, it is what it is, though. Okay. I think I meant to put it right here. Is what I meant to do. Yes. So what I'm doing is I'm just kind of putting the darker green just kind of on the edges of these different ones right there. And then just kind of blending it out with the lighter one. And I figure with all these different color alongs, I might do different mediums. I do have a set of pastel pencils that you guys have never seen me use on camera. I do use them, but you guys have just never seen me use them on camera for one of these things. But I think for the sake of the different color alongs, I think I will use different mediums with you guys so you guys can see how it works. Not that I am an expert and I don't do tutorials, because I don't think I'm that good to kind of consider myself a teacher in this area. I just show you how I do it. And then you guys can go from there and decide how you guys want to do it. So yes. So today is a green day, I guess, you know, because I'm using greens and, you know, for this, because I like to try to get like half of it done with the color that I'm gonna do, and then I'll shade it, of course, and then I try to get it done with each section, and then I move on to the next section with another color, because sometimes I do not always remember what pencils I used where. So I like to try to get done what I'm going to do with the one color, but the different shades that I use with it. Okay. Carry it down just a, whoops. Color with the right end, do me. Color with the right end of the pencil. You'll probably get better results that way. Yes. All right. But I think I am going to be bringing this video to a close in just a minute or two. And then I'll come back in another video and I will show you the finished product of this. Now, the picture that I'm doing now is not for my color along. This is for Anne's color along. This is the coloring Dover in August, or whatever it is. Whatever that hashtag is. So this one is for Anne's color along. My color along right now is the snarky and scary one. So you'll need to find either a snarky or a scary picture to color until August 15th. And then starting on August 16th will be the People and Pooches. But today, or in this video, is going to be this picture for Anne's color along. which is in the Dover stained glass book, Celtic Knotwork. So I really like how these greens are coming together. See, it just, and it shades really nicely. Like the colors lay down very, very nicely on this paper, and it's easy to work with. However, like I said in the beginning of the video, I don't think it's a good idea to use any kind of wet mediums on this. Neo 2s would probably look very pretty, but again, the slightest amount of water is going to buckle and crinkle your paper. If it's something that you don't mind, though, then then by all means go for it. But I don't always like that. So to me, I think the best medium to use on these stained glass pages is color pencil. And Polychromos works very, very nicely on this. Perhaps we'll do one with some Prismacolors. Maybe I'll even show you some other colored pencils on here too. But Polychromos works very, very nicely on this paper. And I don't know, Polychromos seems to work very nicely on a lot of different things, which is awesome. That is very awesome how that does. Alright guys, I think I'm going to bring this video to a close. I still have to shade this part over here with our green. So here is what we got so far right now. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And hope you guys like my funny stories, even the gross ones. Hopefully I didn't gross anybody out too badly, but this is what we have so far. And go ahead and give this video a thumbs up, hit that like button, leave a comment and tell me what you think. Subscribe to my channel so you can see more videos like this, and better yet, hit that bell so you can be notified when I upload new videos. You all have a great day, and we will talk to you all later. All right, bye guys.